All right, what's up, everybody? So I want to talk briefly about the Hess Rack brace, steering rack brace for the X3, along with the shock therapy bump steer delete kit. This, compared to the steering in this car right here, which does not have the Hess Rack brace on it, so you can see, and it has a huge other mistake, and I don't mean to trash anybody's product, but the steering tie rods from Super ATV that they made are, man, they're rough, and I'll make a detailed video on it. But basically, because of the design of this link right here, and I don't know if it's a, oh man, I can't remember what kind of thing this is. It's like a spherical bearing or something like that. Correct me in the comments, I know I'm wrong. On the driver's side, on this car in specific, that is what actually limits the down travel of suspension. So this steering rack, this car, it has a torque locker in it with a full billet case from the guys over at Halo Lockers. You can kind of see that in there. Big fancy case, all that kind of stuff, which is awesome. This thing crawls fantastic going through rocks and stuff because it's a full-time locker. Because it's an XDS, I didn't want to have to modify the driver's side upper control arm, and so now I have four-wheel drive all the time, and I don't like the way these things drive in two-wheel drive. But steering's a mess in this car, long and short. It's not terrible. It's actually not even bad. You just have to be really careful on it because it will torque steer like a front-wheel drive car from hell. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Hess rack brace along with the shock therapy. So I installed the Hess rack at literally 0 miles on the car, or the Hess brace. It had less than a mile on it. Like, basically, I took delivery of the car and put the rack brace right on it. I ended up using 2 shims for it to make it fit right. And I will say probably one of the biggest things I could say about this entire kit is the amount that it cleans up and smooths out your steering. It's really incredible. I can't say enough good things about how much I like the way that the 2-seater steers. It's nothing to do with how much quicker it feels through a corner or what or any of those other type of things. It's really the actual sensation that you get and the feedback that you get from the wheel whenever you are turning and just driving the car. Yes, I've seen a lot of people ask online, does it require additional steering effort? Yes, but it's so negligible that you're talking maybe 5 to 10% more steering effort than what you were putting in whenever you were just running the factory rack. Now, I've seen watching, Shock Therapy's been putting out a ton of videos, and they've got that really, really awesome, beautiful billet race rack that they are making. And frankly, like if money was no object, that's what I would have in the car. But thinking about what the steering feels like in my 4-seater, and you guys already showed you kind of what the deal is and what I have issues with on the 4-seater. In terms of the steering tie rods, I do have the bump steer delete kit for that car. I'm waiting and saving up the money for another Hess rack brace to be able to throw in the front end of that car. I got a bunch of work I got to do on the front end, limit straps and all those other type of things. It's something I didn't really know or even think about, how the spring that is internal in the shock to really kind of slow down the end of its travel. I've got 32s on there. I've got aftermarket arms. There's a lot more weight on each corner. So anyway, not what this is about. So let me stick with it. So what we're looking at in here, if you can see all the way in here, so we got the Hess rack brace, and it goes all the way across. You guys can check out photos of it online. But what it ends up doing is it captures that flag where both the tie rods connects, and it gives it a track so that it can only move side to side. It can't move up and down. And if you go and you jack up the front of your X3, and I don't even know if you have to jack it up, but you need to be able to turn the tires. Whenever you turn them, if you've ever had the rack out of your car, what you're going to notice is that, or if you ever had the rack to where you can see it, whenever you turn it, you will see that that flag, if you've got any miles on your X3, the way that the rack actually works is it'll actually, you know what, I've actually got, this is going to be a tough one, but hang on, I'm gonna pull one down. All right, so I've got a spare, it's a new, but it's a spare steering rack for an X3, and it's just sitting here, and I've got it, I actually have it for my 4-seater, but I need to get a rack brace, so I'm not going to put this in and waste a good rack. But basically, what happens with these units is if you pulled these bolts out of here, and here, if you pulled these bolts out, once this thing unbolts, it's basically, this housing is what's completely surrounding, I wish this thing would balance better. This housing is basically completely surrounding a long toothed gear, right? It's like machined out of one piece, but it's just got vertical teeth. And this whole thing, at least what I've seen, and I might be wrong, excuse me, this whole thing will actually, the flag right here, this steering, these connectors right here, this will start rotating up and down whenever you are not, whenever you don't have this supported. And this wears out, and that's what really makes the steering feel really sloppy in an X3, right? So you'll have a lot of play, and you'll have, a lot of side-to-side slop in the wheel. You're not going to get good feedback. There's, a whole host of things, that are going to make you sad in terms of, this rack. And so what the Hess brace does is essentially goes from here to here and covers the entire thing, and then it captures this flag connector right here. I think that's what they call it. And it limits the travel to going side to side, right? I think it's a really good solution for a guy that really cares about what their steering feels like, but maybe doesn't have $2,000 to spend on the shock therapy rack. Eventually, will I buy the shock therapy rack? Yeah, absolutely. There's just a lot of other things that I want to do to both of these units before I spend the money on it. But so the Hess rack really cleans that up. It fixes the steering feel on. It improves the steering feel. It does increase the steering effort, like I said, 5 to 10%. But combining that with the shock therapy bump steer delete kit, oh man, this car, this thing steers so great. I feel confident in literally putting anybody behind the wheel of this car, and knowing that they're going to be able to go out there and they're going to be able to have a good, easy time driving it. This guy, not the case, but a lot of that I'm going to put down to, well, let's see, I got to get the bump steer delete in. That's one of the things I really want to do this week is get the bump steer delete in this thing, along with getting some limit straps on it and all that type of thing, because like I said, it's got a lot bigger tires on it. But the Hess rack, the shock therapy, bump steer delete kit, those two things combined form an awesome combination. Can't say enough good things about those two things. One other thing. So I talked about in an earlier video, you should use that cross-check torque seal, right? So you want to do the thread checker. So if you take a look in here, all right, if you look right here, this line should be straight. So our stuff's on here on this nut, but we all know that the factory end links on an X3 are garbage, especially in the front. So I checked this before I went out to ride last night. I did a visual inspection of all of my stuff. But if you look, get it home and it's moving. Same thing in here, right? So this is the adjuster nut on the ATV upper control arms. And you can see that this is turned, right? This is no longer tight. So I got to tighten this back down to make sure it hasn't moved. and make sure it doesn't move. It's only the rear one that I can, turn finger loose. But need to tighten that up. And I got, the quick visual indication whenever I came over to look at, for the Hess rack. Otherwise, I would have had to go ahead and do that later on, or missed it altogether, maybe. So use that stuff. It's super cheap. There's no reason not to do it. It really will make a big difference in terms of your safety, and you're probably not going to break as many parts if you know stuff's getting loose, right? So I'm going to go to the other side, give you another visual of the Hess rack from the passenger side of the car. All right, so here's another angle of the Hess rack. So you can see it connects, it replaces, the whole steering block on the outside, and then the flag connector actually slides on the inside. It actually slides on the inside of this brace right here. And so it's going to move back and forth inside of there. And this whole thing is going to keep that captured and moving side to side for you. And no more up and down, like I'm sure a lot of the guys that are watching this video do the test. Check out one of Shock Therapy's videos. They talk about this. It's really recent. It's mid-May. It's like the 17th of May when I'm filming this video. So in the last week or so, they did that, and they actually showed a car, and all they did was wiggle the wheels back and forth, and you could see it moving. So really pretty incredible how much that moves. So awesome. Well, thanks guys. I'm kind of wedged over here in the super disorganized part of my garage. I really want to make my garage look better, but it's always low on the priority list because this is the primary place that I'm filming at, and I want to look cool like everybody else does on YouTube. But I guess one thing at a time. I'd rather have a car that runs good than a garage that you're impressed by. So awesome. Get out there, ride safe, take care of yourselves, enjoy your time with your family, and be nice. Yeah. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe, please like. I really want to do a lot of YouTube videos, and the positive reinforcement of getting likes and all that kind of stuff. It makes me feel good, and it lets me know that you guys like what I'm doing. Any video suggestions, throw that out there. Alrighty, thank you everybody.